I think Trump and I think the Feds, they don't want inflation to halt growth, but the reality is growth and inflation go hand in hand. So, I think it plays out in the next 3 years, but I think it's good for gold. I think that's really what it comes back to. It's one of those things you can print dollars, but you can't print gold.
Welcome to Rethinking the Dollar. Today I'm excited to have my guest, Mr. Warwick Smith. He's the CEO and director of American Pacific Mining Corp, a gold exploration company eyeing a gold discovery in the Western Hemisphere of this country. Trading on the Canadian Stock Exchange, ticker symbol USGD. Today he joins us to share his thoughts on the dollar, the economy, as well as a lot of opportunities in the mining sector. So Warwick Smith, welcome to Rethinking the Dollar.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mike. I really appreciate being here. I love the show.
Well, I appreciate you for taking time out of your day to join me here on Rethinking the Dollar. Definitely looking forward to finding out more about your line of work, as more importantly, getting your thoughts on gold, the dollar, because we are in very interesting times, I believe. So a lot of opportunities out there, as well as a lot of people that need information on alternatives. So we're going to definitely touch on that this evening. And so more importantly, before I dive any further, more information for American Pacific Mining Corporation can be found below at wealthresearchgroup.com/USGD. So before I dive any further, I typically start off with some Rethinking the Dollar questions. The first question is, what comes to mind when Warwick Smith hears the words Rethinking the Dollar?
Oh, great question. I mean, look, I think it's independent media such as yours that's kind of really led the way in this thinking. It's a necessary move at this point while countries are just printing dollars at such a rapid rate. But you're not going to get a lot of that great information off of the mainstream media. Like I say, I think it's the independent media like yours that sort of really led the charge here.
Right, I do agree 100%. And so one of the things about Rethinking the Dollar is to get people, as I mentioned earlier, to think outside the box, to think about alternatives outside of what is currently the current reserve currency of the world, which is the Federal Reserve note, also known as the dollar. And so in your opinion, would you say that it's very important for people to become more monetarily aware, as well as a little bit curious and interested in financial matters and possible opportunities when it comes to investing and things of that nature?
Well, I think if you want to remain financially solvent, it is. I think for those of us that, we're sort of duty bound to have an idea what's happening in the world and get a real feeling for how you're going to protect your own personal wealth. Without that, I'm not sure how well you're going to do going forward.
Right, I agree. And so as we move further along, I want to get your thoughts as far as those that may not know who Warwick Smith is. Give us a little bit of your background, how you arrived at CEO of American Pacific Mining Corp.
Yeah, I'd love to. Listen, I've been in the industry since 1999, been involved in a couple of big successes. I was a very small part in a company called Fortuna Silver, but we got to see that company go from a $10 million market cap to over $1 billion market cap. A few others like that as well. And, I've been blessed to work in an industry that has a lot of great people in it and has provided a lot of wealth for shareholders and myself included, being one of those shareholders of some of the companies we worked on.
Right. So thank you for sharing that about your background. Now, let's move a little bit to some of the Rethinking the Dollar questions to get to the nitty and gritty of what we're going to be covering before we get into your company. And so as of this current time frame now, the equities market has been extremely high. Last year was somewhat problematic as far as how the year ended with the equities. And so we know the Fed is tightening. They raised rates 4 times, give or take, and the question of will they do it anymore. But yet along with that, a lot of central banks have been accumulating gold at alarming rate. And along with that, there's been a lot of de-dollarization and moving away from the dollar. So what, in your opinion, what is all that about, and what do the central bankers and those in the know possibly planned?
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing about gold and countries acquiring gold. It's not a supply and demand commodity. It's a storage of wealth. It's a safe haven, right? A place for people and countries to go when they're looking for real money. It's that hedge against inflation as well. And here's the thing. The truth of the matter is you can print as many dollars as you want. What you can't print is this right here, right? That's a real tangible asset and a true storage of wealth.
Right, 100%. So you got a gold nugget right there in handy. I like that.
If you're gonna be on Rethink the Dollar, you should have a gold nugget with you. I think.
So I think you're probably the first one who actually showed a gold nugget. I think someone might have showed a gold coin, but Yeah, so definitely. And speaking of gold, I have something right here myself. So
Okay, good. Well,
okay,
look,
so
I won't take credit for it being on one of our discoveries. I actually bought it at a silent auction, but that's a whole different story.
yeah. Okay, so moving forward, so it looks like along with that, the bankers are accumulating gold, and things appear to be slowing down. And so we hear a lot more news now about global slowdown, and a lot of that will probably lead to more recessionary type of talks. And so, what are your thoughts on what possibly monetary policy might be coming in the near future, which is causing governments and whatnot to shift away from the dollar and to really diversify outside of, Federal Reserve notes as well as other currencies? What are your thoughts on that? And what exactly are they preparing for, in your opinion?
Look, I mean, I think personally, I think the vast majority of the world would like to de-dollarize. I mean, I think it's had a stranglehold on a lot of the economies for a long time. What do you buy an ounce of gold and you buy it in US dollars? And, that's no different than a barrel of oil or pork bellies or, a pound of copper. It's all bought in US dollars. So the question is, what do you replace it with? Would you replace it with Bitcoin, or could you replace it with, euros or Australian dollars? I mean, I think the likely answer is probably none of the above. So the process is a cumbersome one for sure. It probably doesn't happen in the short to medium term. The only currency that would really, sort of trump them all would be gold or silver. But a question as to when that could happen. If it did happen, that's the precipice for gold to go, parabolic and never come back.
Yeah, I understand that. Now, so you gave me a thought in the middle of your explanation there about alternatives, and you mentioned the Bitcoin. And so when you're thinking a dollar, a lot of people are coming around to the idea that it's being positioned as another financial asset. And so briefly, what are your thoughts on that particular line of technology? Will it be utilized? Is that possibly in our future? What are your thoughts on the whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency type of thing?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. So, I work with a couple of partners, and I focus primarily on gold and silver assets and on commodity companies, but we do some venture capital as well. So my partners look after sort of biotech and tech and different companies that we look at, privately issued companies to take them public. But within the office, we're always investing in things, and we're always trying different things out. So when Bitcoin had a big run last year, we got involved in one of the altcoins that was actually listed out of Canada, and it did really well for us. We actually did quite well. Here is the one thing that I will say about it. I'll exclude myself and say they're rather sophisticated guys. I don't know about me, but it's a challenge to trade cryptos. And your challenge on trading cryptos is not getting the money in; it's being able to get money out. So it's great to, look. I think Bitcoin conceptually is interesting. The fact that there's a limited number of Bitcoins, I think that's good. I thought the altcoins were interesting, and it was an opportunity to trade something that you could trade them quite aggressively. You can trade them 24/7, which we enjoyed as well. But the issue, as I say, wasn't getting money into them. It was being able to cash out of them and turn that back into dollars. That was the challenge. And for three guys who do an awful lot of trading, it took us a bit to figure it out. So I think your average investor may find that to be somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, I do agree. Now, what are your thoughts as far as in the future, the way it's being positioned now? Is there any chance possibly that, we might end up seeing some type of blockchain-based legal tender or coin or something that is issued perhaps that might be in circulation, in your opinion, of course?
I wanted to start by saying I think it's unlikely. But that being said, anything in life is, of course, possible. Look, I think that the way it's set up right now, it's set up as a let's call it a disruptive currency. I think that's probably its best value, and I think that's probably where it lies in its niche. Could I see a company taking it on, see a country taking it on, and pushing it as their sort of main form of currency? Perhaps, but I don't think we're there yet. If we're going to get there, it's going to be 10, 20 years down the road. It would at least be my expectation, because I think there's still been significant issues with it. Look at Quadriga, with that crashing and the founder passing away and then them not having the code. Things like that scare people off. Yeah. And you know what it's like. When it's something new, it's scary for the masses. So guys like yourself and I, we're happy to trade these things. We're happy to pick up on it and use it to our advantage. But to get it to the masses, that takes a longer, a longer track and convincing people of what actually makes sense.
And so most recently, a lot of people have asked me my opinion on cryptocurrency, blockchain technology linked to gold and backing it with gold. So, because you're in the mining sector and you're a gold exploration company. So before we get more in depth into your company, your projects or whatnot, what are your thoughts on the linkage of like tokenizing gold to crypto coin? Do you think that might be something worthwhile down the line and possibly even trickle into the mining sector perhaps one day?
Look, I like gold-backed currencies. That's what I like. So if they can come up with a gold-backed coin, yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that makes sense. Look, I think the real revolution throughout all of this is blockchain. I think that's really where you're going to get the most use out of this. And we've seen a lot of good reasons to use blockchain. I'm sure it can fit into mining, probably more so on the production side. Really for us, we focus on exploration assets that we can build and then turn around and then monetize. So that's really our niche. And I think that's what we do quite well. So more of a challenge probably for us at this moment. But once you get into production, there's probably a lot of uses for blockchain.
Right, I agree. Now you use the word monetizing there, so I think that segues right into my next question. So just recently, talking about monetizing, current president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, referenced about the need for QE4 or the dropping rates even further instead of hiking them. And so that's going to be some type of stimulus type of measures. And so what are your thoughts on that? And then part two of the question is, from an inflationary standpoint, a lot of political figures think that, for inflation is not a problem. It won't be a problem with all this additional monetizing. So what are your thoughts on that? Can it be inflationary? Will there be some problems down the line? Because I'm assuming, there's going to be similar situations in Canada and other countries having to do similar type of things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no question. Look, I think it's inevitable. You can't continually limit organic growth, by constantly manipulating interest rates to slow down inflation. Sometimes you just got to let these things run. My personal thought is that we're sort of now entering an equity and banking mess similar to 2008. Everybody's got a subprime loan on something. Any strong movement in the inflation it's going to bury these debts, and it's going to create a ton of issues. I think Trump and I think the Feds, they don't want inflation to halt growth, but the reality is growth and inflation go hand in hand. So, I think it plays out in the next 3 years, but I think it's good for gold. I think that's really what it comes back to. It's one of those things you can print dollars, but you can't print gold. So.
Yeah, I like that. You can print dollars, but you can't print gold. I might lose you guys the subject heading for this video. I like that. And so moving along, and so drawing towards the end of the just some general questions, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, of course.
So monetizing creates more debt, and so that's going to be inflationary, and then of course good for gold, as you mentioned. So here in the U.S., just I think this past February, we ran a deficit of $234 billion and supposed economic expansion. So everything's supposed to be good, but yet we're needing all these additional stimulus, monetizing type measures. Mm-hmm. And so we're not even close to a slowdown officially yet. So what are your thoughts on, how things play out the rest of this year and moving forward to actually hitting a recession, as you hinted at earlier? What are your thoughts about this next slowdown and where it might go and how it might look?
I mean, if you start to think of those numbers, you're thinking of $234 billion. It's insane. I mean, one, it's insane, and two, it's insane. I mean, it's just, I think it's unsustainable. I'd be hard pressed to have somebody convince me that it's not. So look, I think it eventually erodes the dollar and its buying power. And unfortunately, I think it's going to end up eroding international influence as well.
Thanks for explaining that for us. And so now let's get a little further to gold, because you mentioned that, you can print as many dollars as you want, but you can't print gold. But yet, so American Pacific Mining Corp, you guys are a gold exploration company. And so give us a little bit of information about that. How did it come about? What's the origins of it? Give us a little bit of the leadership team there. Dive in a little bit deeper for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So American Pacific, we went public in March of last year, so 2018. So been around for just over a year. It's a fairly small company, but we just brought in a big partner in Oceana Gold. So Oceana is based out of New Zealand. They're in production on 3 continents. They produce about 500,000 ounces of gold per year. It's around a $2.5 billion company. So that makes our $15 million company look fairly small. But what that does do is I think it lends a lot of credibility to the asset that we have in Nevada. We've got a project called Tuscarora, which is a very high grade, what's called an epithermal system. Basically, it's a vein that holds the gold. These gentlemen have come in. They spent a lot of time doing a lot of due diligence on the company, and they're going to invest up to $10 million US to earn 75% of that asset. So we're very pleased about that. We think they're the right partner. They're guys that understand these types of gold systems. They have a similar one in New Zealand that they've done incredibly well with. So we're very, very, very excited to have brought those guys on. And then you asked about the team. So myself, I'm the CEO. My business partner is a gentleman named Eric Saderholm. Eric was the head of exploration in the Western U.S. from Newmont. So he left a very high-powered position there to come and work with me. He's been involved in all kinds of different discoveries. I think him and his team are, somewhere in and around the 6 to 7 million ounce mark of gold that they've discovered. So he's one of the, in my eyes, certainly one of the top geologists out there. And I think you see that by Oceana getting involved as well. So it's a company that we're incredibly excited about.
Interesting. Yeah. So you and your partner Eric there. So explain with us a little bit about how many outstanding shares, and so you and Eric's involvement with that, and what's some of the exciting things, because you guys, I assume, have a lot of skin in the game here. So what's been some of the wins and successes, as possibly some learning experiences you guys had thus far in the project?
Yeah, no question. I mean, look, both Eric and I have been involved in some large wins for shareholders. Both in the past, and I think we've got one ahead of us here in our future as well. So, American Pacific's got 53 million shares out right now. We've got about 18 months worth of burn rate, so we've got a good amount of cash. We've got warrants that are in the money that would add another 14, 15 months worth of burn rate. So we're in a very good position, especially in the junior market as it is right now. So especially with bringing in this partner, bringing in the partner is a big deal. They're going to spend all the money in the ground, so that cuts our burn rate down very low. We don't have a big team. It's a fairly small company at this point. But, when you get into these gold bull markets, it's the junior companies where if they can get involved and get a discovery under their belt, that's where you really get your torque. And when they work incredibly well and can get a very big price appreciation. Certainly that's what we're looking to do here by partnering with Oceana. We're going to see them come in and do a lot of work and hopefully turn this into a big gold deposit.
So for the Rethinking the Dollar audience, a lot of us here, including myself, I'm new to the mining sector, especially the junior miners. So from an educational standpoint, give us a little bit of information as far as the size and the operation you guys currently have going on now in comparison to some other projects possibly, or some other things. Give us a broader perspective for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, the project's in Nevada. Nevada's great for mining. The Fraser Mining Institute just listed as the #1 place to work in the world for mining. So, and Nevada recently has seen 3 takeovers. So there was a company by the name of Klondex Mining, was taken over by Hecla for $420 million US, I believe. Alio Mining just took over Rye Patch. And then there was a third as well. Coeur d'Alene took over the name's eluded me, but they've just had another takeover in Nevada as well. So Nevada is heated up quite a bit, which is great. We're excited about that. Tuscarora it's about 1,818 acres. So it's a good sized project. It's an underground, or we'll look for it to be an underground mine. It's similar in nature to an asset that was called Fire Creek. And that was owned by Klondex. That was part of that takeover that Hecla came and took over Klondex for, I think they said $420 million US. Fire Creek started off very similar to the way Tuscarora is as they advanced it along, and then they were able to sell it. So, that's what we'd like to be able to do, is build this up and see it become a big win for shareholders.
Interesting. Now, I'm not sure if you hit on it before, but what's the current approximate valuation of USGD at this current moment?
About a $15 million Canadian market cap. So it's a fairly small company. We're just going out now and starting to try to up our exposure. Getting this deal done with Oceana was a big deal for us, for a company our size. So now it's time to get out and beat the drum and really let investors know that we've got a great partner coming in, that there's going to be a good deal of money spent on the project, and I really want to beat the drum on how strong our belief is and where we believe this asset can take us.
All right. So to dive a little bit more into the Oceana partnership and whatnot, for those that may not know who Oceana is from a beginner standpoint, elaborate a little bit more on them and how they are going to really be a difference maker for the project you guys have going on.
Yeah, no question. I mean, look, anytime that you've got a company that's our size, a $15 million company, and you're getting a $2.5–3 billion company coming in and investing a significant amount of capital, it's an incredibly good thing. I watched an interview with a guy named Rick Rule, who's really one of the mining gurus, and him saying that he likes to get involved in these junior companies that have a mid-tier or a major company involved, because simply they do the due diligence for you. Oceana is a big company. They've got a ton of great geologists working for them, great mining engineers, and they've come through and they've scrubbed this asset and they've looked at it, each way to Sunday to figure out if they think it makes sense. Quite frankly, if they think it's a good investment for them, for guys like you and I, as we're trying to figure out where to put money, it's probably good to let them do the due diligence for you. So they'll be the operator. They'll come in. They'll do all the exploration for us up until the point that they become a joint venture partner. Then we'll play alongside with them. But this is the type of group. Like I say, they've got mines in production on 3 continents. They're certainly very well capitalized, and they're guys that we're proud to be working with.
All right, that's nice. And so moving forward with Oceana in the partnership side of things, give us some, if you're able to, give us some of the projected timeframes of events that should be occurring and a perspective of things ahead. Yeah,
absolutely. So essentially, within as close to immediately as possible, they're going to run a survey. Basically, it's called a CSAMT survey, but essentially it's like a polarization that looks through the ground, just to bring it down a level, just to sort of like you can see through, and it basically helps you guide as to where you're going to drill. Drilling's quite expensive. The CSAMT costs less money, and it guides you as to where you should drill your holes. So they'll do that first, and then they'll get out and they'll start putting more holes into the project. And all of that's going to happen in the course of 2019. So we'll have a lot of news coming up. We're looking at other assets as well. We've seen some really good assets out there in Nevada and throughout the Western U.S. as well. Eric, my business partner that I mentioned before, it was his job at Newmont to go out and find the assets for them to purchase. So he's seen a lot of great assets out there. And now it's time for us to follow up on some of those and bring them into the company.
Right, understandable. Now, so as we draw towards the end of our discussion, it's been great to get your thoughts on the economy of the dollar and the importance of gold, as I want to title this video here. And so more importantly, are there any questions I may not have asked that will be relevant and important for viewers to know about American Pacific Mining?
No, listen, I think, I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity to be on the show. As I said before, we're super excited about it. We have a U.S. symbol as well for people who are watching from the U.S., and that's USGDF. You can buy that down in the United States. And then the Canadian symbol is USGD. I think we'll have a great deal of news flow, and we're looking forward to creating some excitement in 2019.
Sounds good. Well, Warwick, it's been great having you on Rethinking the Dollar. Definitely all the information that we discussed will be beneath this video here, as well as analysis breakdown that will be linked there for wealthresearchgroup.com/USGD. So other than that, Warwick, it's been great, man. Looking forward to find out more about the project and hopefully having a chance to meet you one of these days. And so I'm actually attempting to go to the Rick Rules, the Sprout Symposium in July. So
perfect.
If you'll be there, I'll hopefully be there myself. So definitely.
I will be there. Well, the wine's on me. I look forward to meeting you.
Sounds good. Well, Warwick Smith, once again, thank you for joining us, everybody. If you have any questions or whatnot, feel free to scroll below this video for further information, as well as click the links and definitely get in tune as to what's going on. So once again, Warwick, thanks for joining us, Rethinking the Dollar.
Thanks, Mike. Much appreciated.
Thanks.